Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I'm so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you. Whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 207th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and this week is going to be called Hershey and History, Our Road Trip. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned our summer road trip to Hershey, Pennsylvania, when we were talking about the 250th celebration and ways that you can celebrate our nation's birthday this year and how we chose to celebrate our nation's birthday. Several people asked me why I chose Hershey as a destination for our big summer road trip. And because it is not somewhere a lot of people down here in Northeast Mississippi visit. But there's a few reasons, and I touched on a couple of them why we chose Hershey. For one, my father is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So growing up, I heard about Philadelphia and Pennsylvania just as much as I heard about Mississippi in my house because I am from a home divided, half Mississippi, half Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania has always been near and dear to my heart because it is a place that gave me my father. And also, Christian loves chocolate making. So the boys had not been to Philadelphia. And even though I went for the first time when I was 8 years old. Christian is now 9. London just turned 14. So I wanted them, to go not only to America's roots in Philadelphia, but to their own personal roots. And so we wanted to celebrate London's 14th birthday. Christian loves chocolate making. My father's from Philadelphia. It's the 250th anniversary of our country. So there's so many different reasons why this made this the perfect trip. Oh, also, Logan and I went for our 4th anniversary 15 years ago, and we said that one day we were going to take our kids on the same exact trip. But let me just tell you, even if you go to the same place or same places, it's never the same trip. Especially if you add 15 years, right? It's always a different experience. So, and this time we went, not just the 2 of us, not just the 4 of us, but we had some friends that joined us, the Safeleys. So our first stop on our 7-day road trip to Pennsylvania was to go to Dalton, Georgia, where we met the other half of our party, my best friend Mallory and her husband Justin and their 2 girls, Hannah and Brooklyn, who are right around the same ages as my boys. And we travel together about once a year. We take some kind of trip, whether it's a cruise or we go to the Caribbean or we've been to Europe together or we do a road trip. Sometimes we just go and explore, Tennessee or Georgia. And this time we did our road trip to Pennsylvania together. So this is something that we decided we were going to share with the kids. And so we went and stayed the night with them in Dalton. So then we were going to caravan. The next day was all about driving. And it's about a 15 to 16 hour drive. I don't even know how long it really takes because after a while you just lose track of time and you stop at Buc-ee's both ways and you want to find good places to eat because you need to do more than just get out and stretch your legs for a few minutes. You want to actually see something on your driving days. So I'm always going to find an interesting place, at least once during the day to stop to eat. And we found a really good place that had like farm to table type food. I think it was called the Green Goat. I'll make sure and I'll share that. But it was great. We were able to walk around, and we stopped at every visitor center because you have to get maps. We had a children's atlas in the back. We did different things where we kind of played musical chairs with our two vehicles, and sometimes all four kids rode together. Sometimes we swapped it up. Sometimes the dads were in one car, the moms were in another car, and so that way it really broke up the trip because we were changing up who was riding with who along the way. So that first day was all about driving, and we got a lot of new states for the kids on this trip. We went 1,000 miles one way there, and so then 1,000 miles back. We went to 10 states total, 4 new ones for the boys. Logan got 1 new state. He got New Jersey. The boys also got New Jersey, West Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. They had been to Pennsylvania before on a road trip to Niagara Falls a few years ago. I also have some episodes about on the podcast if you want to go back and listen to that road trip. But this has been our biggest road trip since then, since we went to Niagara Falls. Now, we did road trip to San Antonio for spring break, so we've had some road trips this year. And Christian does not like driving in a car, riding in a car, shall I say. He's not driving yet at 9. If you remember a few weeks ago when I had him on the podcast as my guest, he even talked about how planes, trains, ships, he's good with, but riding in a car for hours at a time is his least favorite way to travel. And I'll say, yes, he did like to talk, and we talked a lot together on this trip. But overall, I feel like it was probably his best road trip. So we made sure I was stocked up with lots of books, and we did a lot of geography on this trip because anytime he wanted to ask me a question, what state is this? What's the capital? Where are we going? Are we there yet? We just broke out the atlas. And so I'm going to recommend, if you're taking a road trip, you need to have a children's atlas with you. And that way, when they start to ask questions, you just hand them the atlas and let them figure it out. So day 2, all about the driving. Day 3, that was Lyndon's birthday. So we arrived in Hershey, and the kids were really excited because I told them when we pull into Hershey, and it was going to be late at night. I mean, it was like 8:30 or 9. I said, we're going to have the windows down, and you will smell whiffs of chocolate from the factory. Still the biggest chocolate factory there. And so I was like, you're going to smell whiffs of it, and you're going to get to see the street lamps, and they are going to have giant Hershey kisses on the street lamps there in Hershey. And so for his birthday, his 14th birthday, we went to Hershey World. We also got to do a Hershey Park preview, which was really cool. If your kids love roller coasters and you're like, I don't know if I can get my kids to do a history road trip, they're not going to be interested. Ask them, or, kind of bribe them with roller coasters and chocolate, and then they will change their minds, because that's how we presented it. I'm like, you're getting to go to Hershey World. We made our own chocolate bars where we had to have hairnets, and it felt very I Love Lucy for a little bit, and aprons, and you got to pick whether you wanted milk chocolate or dark chocolate, white chocolate, and you got to pick your ingredients for them on a computer, and what you wanted, if you wanted sprinkles or no sprinkles, and then you got to walk through like an assembly line, and it was, plexiglass that was, shielding you. You weren't putting your hands on it, but it was made by machines, and you're getting to watch your candy bar that you put in specifically about what you wanted being made right before your eyes. You even got to design the candy bar wrapping and box. So the packaging, you got to watch it being made and it being packaged. Let me just tell you, my candy bar was delicious. It was dark chocolate with butterscotch, Heath, toffee, butterscotch, toffee, and pretzel. Fantastic. And London even chose the same thing, only he put sprinkles in his and I did not. Christian went a completely different direction. I think he had sprinkles. His was white chocolate, and he had cookie bites in his. So that was a lot of fun. We also did a chocolate tasting where you got to try all different kinds of chocolate and really incorporated your 5 senses. And instead of a wine tasting, it was a chocolate tasting. So it was great. And we got to do Another experience that was very interactive, kind of like a 3D chocolate train ride. And then my favorite thing of the day, we did a trolley ride where we went through downtown Hershey and got to find out all about the history of Milton Hershey, how he created this little town that is now booming, right? That is a chocolate mecca, and how he created everything for his employees, where it was not just a place to work, but it was a place to live. Like Milton Hershey's like the Disney of chocolate. And that's what it felt like, Main Street, USA. And it was absolutely beautiful. He had an arena, school, bandstands. He actually created Hershey Park in 1906. And even now, the net profits help fund Milton Hershey's school that he has for it's a boarding school for the economically challenged. It started off as a boys' school / orphanage, and it has grown now to include women as well, girls. And it is a, live-in boarding school with some of the best education in the country. And it is partially funded by Hershey Park and Hershey World. So just getting to hear the history and about how much he gave back. Milton Hershey and his wife did not have children of their own, but this is his legacy. Where now I believe 13,000 boys and girls have graduated from this school. And it's not just it's an okay school. It is a top-notch school. So we got to tour the grounds, find out all about, how he got started, the trust that enabled this to happen. And basically the school owns Hershey Park and a huge chunk of the stock in Hershey. So one thing that Justin said on our trip was that, he's now going to be able to eat Hershey products guilt-free because he knows that every time he does that a part of the funds are going for this school for the kids. So it was an amazing experience. I teared up a couple of times on this 90-minute trolley tour. And you know what else? Not only did you get the history, but every time we got to a new place on the tour guide was handing out baskets of different kinds of chocolate, from Reese's Cups to dark chocolate to regular milk chocolate to even we ended with an entire bar of chocolate. And with it being London's birthday, and it was also the tour guide's birthday, he gave London like 3 or 4 whole chocolate bars by the time we got off the tour. Logan couldn't even eat all of the chocolate that day. I ate more chocolate on London's birthday when we were in Hershey World than I have in any other day since, I think, before or since. So we just had a fantastic time. We were eating at the Chocolatier on the rooftop overlooking Hershey Park. And we knew that we were going to Hershey Park. We had already gotten our tickets. We got a great deal where we got them 50% off. And we were not going until Thursday. And this was Tuesday. And then we had seen, as part of our ticket, is you got a preview the day before you were going for your full day, 1-day tickets. It was a 2-hour preview when the park was getting ready to close, 2 hours before they were closing, free parking, and you got to go in to check it out. And the fine print kind of said it could be any day that week before your full day. Didn't have to be the day before. Well, the next day was our Gettysburg Day, which I've talked about already a lot, so I'm going to go really quick on that. But I'm like, you know what? Why don't we just try it? Let's see if we can go in at 6 o'clock. The park closes at 8. There was a little discrepancy of whether or not we could do that. We ended up talking to the director of the park, and he said, you know what, just try it. We're not sure. We thought it was just for the day before, but this is a new thing we're doing. So if the computers recognize your ticket when you come in at 6 o'clock tonight, even though you're not coming till Thursday, just try it. And we did. And there were very little crowds that evening. It was beautiful weather. We thought it was going to rain a lot that Thursday, so we thought it was going to be extra great to be able to do it then, just in case we couldn't ride a lot of the roller coasters on Thursday. So we did just that. There are so many roller coasters at Hershey Park, and that we wouldn't have been able to do them all in one day if we wanted to. And not only that, there's a huge water park. Zoo America is there. So we knew that having the extra 2 hours would kind of help us plan out the rest of our trip. So we went, had those 2 hours, then we went for dinner at a great Italian restaurant. And what's special about this Italian restaurant is that the Reese's Cup, was invented in the basement of the restaurant. So there's history everywhere you look in Hershey. And it's fun history. Like, it's happy things. It's a story of a young boy who only had a 4th grade education and had one hardship after another in his young life and just didn't accept, mediocrity. Like, he's like, I'm going to be something. And he had one failure after another and kept on keeping on. And then he created a legacy. And even though he never had children himself, he has helped thousands of children, both in Hershey and then countless children bringing a smile to their face with his chocolate. So it was an amazing day for me. And I would say probably one of my favorite days of the whole trip. Now, the next day, we went to Gettysburg. We went to the battlefield. It's only an hour away from Hershey, so it made for an easy day trip. We went to the museum. We watched the movie, saw the cyclorama, which is amazing in and of itself, and I enjoyed just as much as the movie. Went to 2 ranger talks. We got to, hear so much about Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. And we actually, later on that day, when we did a ghost tour, just for the fun and just for the history of it, because that's something you do in Gettysburg, known as the 2nd most haunted city in the U.S., we got to walk by a beautiful old tree, put our hands on the tree if we wanted to, and that's where Lincoln stopped on his way through the town to where he was going to go commemorate the National Cemetery and give his famous address. We went to have dinner at Dobbin's house, which is 200 years old. I believe it was 200. Yes, or no, it was more than that. The oldest house and restaurant in the town. I think it was from 1776. So amazing history there. We went and had homemade ice cream at Mr. G's, went to the ghost store. So we did a lot in day 4. And day 5 was all about our Hershey Park day. So again, I thought we're going to blend chocolate, throw in some history, then do the theme park, and then do some history. So that's how I spaced it out. We went to Hershey Park on day 5 that Thursday, and we didn't get there the moment they opened. Now, the Safeleys did. They were there when it opened. We got there maybe 30, 40 minutes later. We went to Hershey Pantry for breakfast 2 mornings in a row, which I just thought was wonderful. And we just went and let the boys ride whatever they wanted to ride. So we rode a lot of rides that day. It has a full water park. We are not as big on loving water parks. It was the girls' first water park, so they came prepared, and they rode a lot of rides, and that was their favorite thing about the park, for sure, was the water park. We did a lot of the roller coasters and just kind of took our time. By the end of it, I will say about a couple hours left of the day, Logan and I had hit our fill on rides. The boys had not. We let them continue, and we watched them from a nice shady spot. And I took pictures and videos of them going forwards and then in reverse and then upside down, and they had a blast. Our last day, I would say this. So we ended that trip in Hershey, or last night in Hershey. We went to Hershey Social Club. We walked downtown underneath the Hershey Kiss street lights, and saw the sun setting. You could still see the roller coasters in the background. And it's a beautiful mixture of past and present, right? Like that the history for her. You could see Hershey's smokestacks from the original factory there as well. Anywhere in town you can see them. And it was a beautiful moment. It was just walking, letting the kids walk after a great dinner. And our next day, and there's so much I can tell, but I'm going to try to say this part really quickly because I don't want you to miss it. We drove through Amish country, which is just stunning. It is so underrated just to drive through the rolling hills with the farmhouses, and it's beautiful. And we were going to the largest smorgasbord, think biggest buffet, in the U.S. Some will say in the world. I mean, because if it's the biggest here, it's oftentimes the biggest anywhere. And it's called the Shady Maple. And the history of it is that it began as a little roadside produce stand in the 1960s. It's this huge family enterprise now. The buffet dining room can seat up to 2,000 people at once. A record day, like right before Mother's Day, they can feed 11,500 people in one day. They're closed on Sundays. The food line is 200 feet long. Now, we went for lunch. I'm a vegetarian. Some might think, can you get your money's worth for $29.99 for lunch if you're a vegetarian? I sure did. I had corn 3 ways, every vegetable you can think of, shoe fly pie, strawberry rhubarb pie. Everything was amazing. Homemade, the vegetables, so many different main like protein meat bars, hot bars if you want, made to order right in front of you. Salmon, steaks, there's pizza bar, potato bar, huge salad bar. There was a ice cream sundae bar that day. So we had so much fun, and we did not even keep track of time. We were supposed to get to Philadelphia in time for our Independence Hall tour at 2:20, and we were still an hour and 10 minutes away. And we kind of went a little bit in a food trance, and we looked down and we're like, oh, we've got to get going. Christian wanted to go look in the gift shop. The girls wanted to look in the gift shop. It's 44,000 square feet for their gift shop. We didn't have enough time for that. We glanced at it, saw it. We're like, we've got to go because we've got to get to Philadelphia. And the World Cup is being played in Philadelphia. So traffic was intense. We parked in downtown Philadelphia at 2:20, which was our time that we needed to be the back of Independence Hall for our tour. So needless to say, we missed our time slot. And I thought, well, there it goes. All that work, getting the time for our tickets, and we're not going to be able to go. So we did not get there behind Independence Hall until about 2:48. So we missed the 2:20 and the 2:40. But you know what? They had some mercy, and they let us in the 3 o'clock. So I had just resolved that we were not going to get into the Independence Hall that day, but we did. We got to do the 20-minute tour. It was incredible. We were in the room where it happened to see where the Declaration of Independence was discussed and signed and then taken out behind Independence Hall and read to thousands of people who then there was a whole new revolution then. There was a revolution done by the lawyers and our politicians and the revolution of the people. And it was incredible. And so then after that, we went to the Liberty Bell and walked downtown, saw Betsy Ross's house, and we got to talk to Benjamin Franklin. I don't have time for that story, but if you go back and listen to a couple of weeks ago, you will hear all about Benjamin Franklin and where he told us to go and what he made sure that we saw that day. It was a great way to end our trip. And the next day we parted ways with our friends who they went on to D.C. and we were driving the rest of the way home our separate ways. And we met up with some friends who live in Asheville, and they met us in Bristol, and we had lunch. So that kind of broke up the 1,000 miles one way to have something to to look forward to along the way to stop. It was an incredible road trip. And there were sweet moments, and there were moments that got your heart pumping because you didn't know if you were going to make it in time with the traffic and the big cities and schedules. And then there were moments in that I know I'm going to look back as I'm processing and just treasure forever. Where the boys got to soak in the history of Gettysburg and how many people fought for our freedom and with the revolution and like what it meant to stand up and what would have happened in any point of history if it didn't go the way that it did. So I think it's important for our kids to learn about history. And to me, there's no better way than a road trip / field trip to experience it. That is all the time we have for this week's episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. I hope you enjoyed our Hershey and history road trip. Life is an adventure. Take the trip. Make those memories. You won't regret it.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark102.3.com/podcasts. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com.